To start with our Paul Klee inspired piece, you'll start with your paper labeled with pencil on the back, and we're going to start with a black oil pastel. You don't want to squeeze it tight because it will rub off and get messy on your fingers. We're going to go across our paper with some geometric shapes. Those are shapes that can be defined by rules in math, mostly using straight lines. Once you get shapes that you're happy with, rectangles, things like that, you can start to darken them. I'm adding some triangle roofs to a few of my buildings. This one kind of looks like a W. And just keep adding your lines and designs, kind of breaking up those buildings like we saw in Paul Klee's Castle and Sun piece. I added my circle for my sun. I'm not going to add sunbeams right now. We're going to create that effect in paint later. Then it's really important to divide up my buildings into at least 4 sections. Maybe some of the smaller buildings might only have 2 or 3, like my tiny little building in the middle. But you want your buildings divided up into sections because that's where we're going to have a lot of fun mixing different values in paint. So on probably another day, you guys are going to start with your paint. You're going to have one color and white to start with. This is when we're going to take what we use about value to make the sections of our building look different. So I'm starting both of these little buildings, I'm going to use blue, and each building is going to have its own color. And I'm starting with just my regular blue straight out of the bottle. And whatever shapes in those buildings, I want that regular, nice, bold, dark blue straight out of the bottle. I'm going to get those colors painted in first. Then I'm going to start to mix my next value. Now, any color mixed with white creates a value called a tint. So all we're going to be mixing for this project are tints. So I'm going to pull some white and pull some blue into a new place on my palette to create a new tint of blue. It's going to be a lighter blue. So with this project, I'm always going to be painting from dark to light. Then once I mix that value that I like, I'm going to paint in whatever shapes I want to be that value. Now I'm deciding to make that value even lighter by adding a little bit more white. So now on my blue buildings, you can see 3 different values: a dark blue, a medium blue, and a very light blue that almost looks white. And when these values dry, they will look even more different. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my other buildings, keeping one color per building, but mixing as many tints as I can to fill up all of those different shapes in my buildings. We're also using what we learned about our color families of warm and cool. So I painted my buildings with cool colors only, making different tints of cool colors. So my sky is going to be done in watercolor using only warm colors. Now you're welcome to divide it up the same way that I did, or you can flip-flop them. You could have a cool sky like it's nighttime and your buildings could be warm colors. So that's going to be up to you as an artist. Now I'm using a completely different kind of paint in the sky. I'm using a watercolor, and I'm going in these concentric circles. Those are circles that share the same center, getting bigger and bigger, kind of like a target symbol, around my sun with my different warm colors kind of in reverse rainbow order. So I started with yellow at my sun, then I'm going to go to an orange, and eventually I will get out to a nice red out towards the edge of my paper. Now, instead of adding white to create different tints when I'm using watercolor, I'm actually just adding water because that makes the paint more see-through or more translucent. So the white of the paper will show through. So the more water I use, the lighter the color is going to be. The less water I use, the darker or richer the color is going to be. So we're practicing 2 different painting techniques of creating tints with our paints that are different just based on how the paint works. Once your painting is done, you'll set it to dry. I would typically wait until my paint is dry to do this, but I was a little impatient while making this video. But I'm going back over my black lines to make those shapes really stand out. And if you want to do that once our painting is dry, you are welcome to do that. If you don't, if you like it where the lines got a little bit covered up by the paint, that's fine too. You are the artist. All right, happy painting.